Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a surprisingly overpowered Paladin Rogue multi-class build in Baldur's Gate 3. The reason this is so crazy is Vow of Enmity. I thought this would get patched, but it hasn't as a patch 8 and I don't think it ever will. You can apply this on yourself to give yourself advantage on all attack rolls for 10 turns. This means you don't have to worry about setting up your sneak attack at all in combat, and you don't have to use the risky ring, which will give you disadvantage on saving throw, which is not great outside of combat. So this is very powerful because with the Rogue Thief, we can get 2 bonus actions, so we can set this up on the first turn of combat and also Hunter's Mark for additional damage. And then also we can do offhand attacks to set up our Divine Smite. And furthermore, in Act 3, the Belm lets us do extra attacks with our bonus actions. So yeah, it's surprisingly strong throughout the entire game. So at level 1, we'll be rolling with the Oath of Vengeance. We also get another bonus action ability that uses our Channel Oath charge. Wouldn't fully recommend this, but dazing targets can be nice for some of our spells a bit later on. Now, the ability score spread we want to roll with is 16 Charisma, 14 Constitution, and 16 Dexterity. The reason we're going Dexterity is a lot of the weapons that we can use when we use our Dexterity. This will also give us a higher initiative, and also if we're using medium armor, better armor class. So very solid. And we'll put 10 points in Intelligence and Wisdom just so we don't have negative saves. And when it comes to level 2, we get our Divine Smite. Now, you want to set this as a reaction. What's great about this reaction is it's not a true reaction, but it's in the reaction tab, meaning it won't eat up your reaction. You can use this and then every attack that you do. It's more efficient this way because if you put it as a reaction, you can actually smite on top of our other smites. So the damage potential from this becomes really crazy. I wouldn't recommend using the other smites though that much. We're going to want to save our spell slots for Command and Divine Smite. Thunderous Smite can be sometimes nice for the pushback and prone. If you don't have anyone in your party with Bless, I would recommend that you take that. Otherwise, you could add on Divine Favor for a bit of radiant damage. It's entirely up to you between those two. For the fighting style, I think the best choice here is to go with the defense perk here because you get a +1 to your armor class here, which is just great across the board. We don't have the 2-weapon fighting, unfortunately, but we can get that another way. We'll just go with the defense there. Now, once we get to level 3, we get that Vow of Enmity. Again, this is extremely powerful. If you want to be a ranger or an archer, put this on yourself and your ranged attack rolls of advantage. It makes you a better archer than a ranger, silly enough. And you get also the ranger's main ability with the Hunter's Mark here, doing additional piercing damage. And yeah, this is really strong. We also have things like Abjure Enemy, which we won't use, and Bane, which we also won't use. And then I guess you can throw on either Shield of Faith for the extra armor class or the Cure Wounds there for a bit more health. I'd actually recommend the Shield of Faith, just better to be proactive versus reactive. Again, spell doesn't really matter too much past this point. Heroism can be okay. For the first feat, Alert is great for the +5 to initiative. If we can go first, this means we can control combat. Another good choice is to go with the ability score improvement on your Dexterity. And one more I'm going to mention that fits extremely well in this build is going with Savage Attacker. This allows you to reroll your damage die. And why this is so nice is because we can do a sneak attack, divine smite, and weapon attack all in the same attack. All 3 of those get re-rolled, meaning you got a massive boost to your DPS. This is just one of the best choices for feats at this level. Level 5 is our Power Spike, and this is pretty crazy because we get our extra attack now, but we also get Hold Person, which gives us free crits. It's kind of crazy, the damage output here. And if we need to chase someone down, we have Misty Step, although not always the best choice, but having an extra bonus action means we can get some more movement. It entirely depends on your spell economy there. Now at level 5, we can take Aid, which is kind of nice if you can get a free spell slot. This can give your teammates and your summons extra health. And Blinding or Branding Smite here is useful to stop targets from turning invisible. This does require a bonus action to use, so it can eat up that pretty quickly. Now at this point, I like level 6 Paladin for the bonus from your Charisma modifier to saving throws, but I actually think at this point it's better for us to add in the Rogue. Now this at its base is just going to give us skill proficiencies. I like to have the expertise in Persuasion, especially as a Paladin who already can naturally get that proficiency there. Sleight of Hand is great too, but honestly, I think Stealth is a bit better. This is kind of silly, but Stealth Paladins work. They just work. So this gives us a +7 to Stealth checks and +7 to Persuasion. That works great. You could alternatively add on the bonuses to Acrobatics if you want a bit more resistance to being shoved, because that does suck. Now we get our bonus action abilities here to dash, disengage, and hide, which are useful in certain choices. Like dashing is really great because that gives you more movement speed, kind of like a Misty Step, I guess, in a sense, without using your spell slots up. And then here we get to take our subclass. Now Arcane Trickster is nice because we could get spell slots, but it's not that great. Mage Hand, Legerdemain is not that good. The Assassin's actually pretty useful for being more stealthy, and you get your actions and bonus actions back. This could be really good. You could potentially take that. But we're going to go with the Thief here because that bonus action means 1 more smite per turn, and it's just great. We also don't take falling damage, so you can be a bit more reckless there. And unfortunately, the rogue is not really that great to continue with because the feat here we can get better from another class that'll give us more health. Now we got a choice to make. There's actually 3 good options that I want to recommend. The fighter for Eldritch Knight, getting Booming Blade. This is great if you didn't choose a high elf because getting Booming Blade is really nice. The Ranger is also a great choice because they can give you, if you go with the Gloomstalker, 1 additional attack on turn 1, meaning our Nova damage potential goes through the roof. It's pretty crazy. I also want to go back, I guess, to the Battle Master because Riposte gives us a reaction which we can also smite off of, and that's really good because there's no other ones that can give us a reaction attack unless we go with a specific few different weapons. And I'm also going to mention the Bard, and I think the Bard ends up being the best because this furthers our spellcasting progression, and on top of that, we can do Slashing Flourishes to smite 2 people at once. And another mention, I guess, the Hexblade Warlock is also great, but I'd rather have this at like level 5 for the stacking extra attacks outside of Honor mode. So my choice is either Eldritch Knight or Bard, and I'm going to go with Bard for this build. I've tested them all, and they're all honestly really good. There's slight differences between them. I like this, though, because we can get Vicious Mockery and Mage Hand here, Mage Hand being great for support and throwing health potions. Alternatively, you could throw on the Friends cantrip. And we get a few other spells here that we don't normally get access to. Thunderwave, I guess we're taking. Longstrider, buff our team up. Disguised Self is actually kind of nice, too. And Dissonant Whispers is alright, because we can actually use the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel and cast that from it. Tasha's Hideous Laughter being another good choice, too, if you want something a little different. And we also get more skill proficiencies here. So, yeah, you can throw this one into Perception, but my choice is Acrobatics so that we don't get shoved as much. That is really frustrating, so getting that reduced is nice. Level 2 Bard gives us the Jack of all trades, getting half our proficiency bonus added to things we're not proficient in. Another short rest, great if you have a Warlock on the team. Another spell, we'll just take Dissonant Whispers here, but at level 3, this is what we were waiting for. We want to go here for the College of Sword. This is busted. Now, with Slashing Flourish, we can smite 2 enemies, and then do it again, smite 2 enemies. Crazy damage, it's just absurd. And then we also have our bonus actions to smite from. We also then can take Slashing Flourish range to do ranged attacks at the same target twice. This is pretty crazy again when you consider the fact we get advantage on all attack rolls. And humble plug, my College of Winter Spirit Bard is a really fun subclass, so I definitely recommend checking that one out. But fighting style, this is where we get our 2-weapon fighting I was talking about. This is great because our offhand attacks can now be much more powerful, and if you wanted to use a shield, you could go with the dueling there, but we want those bonus action attacks. And for the final level, I did mention that the Paladin's nice for the +3 to your saving throws. I do want to mention, the reason that I didn't go with Rogue is because this gives you 93 health, this gives you 93 health, but more spell slots. You get a level 3 spell slot, and then you also get another bonus, or another cantrip for Minor Illusion, and we get a level 2 spell. We can take Invisibility, which is really good for a stealthy Rogue style class. Cloud of Daggers for a concentration that guarantees that we get damage. Crown of Madness being a pretty decent choice as well, and Silence. It's nice. Being able to shut down spellcasters is very useful. Nox also kind of useful if you have scrolls. It kind of defeats purpose. I think Invisibility actually makes the most sense here. It's a concentration, but we don't have many that we want to concentrate on, and being able to be stealthy like that is great. This also gives us a final feat, which means we could take our Charisma or our Dexterity up to 18. And I also want to mention the Alert feat. Savage Attacker is one that we definitely want to have, but getting a +5 to Initiative is fantastic as well. I like the Dexterity increase for better weapon attack rolls, and also this will give us more Initiative in Armor class as well. I think that's the best bang for our buck. Now, as far as equipment goes, we have so many great options. This is actually pretty kind on gear to your party members. The Helmet of Arcane Acuity is always a nice choice. However, we could also use the Gloves of the Battle Mage's Power, which was fixed in patch 8. This will proc off, again, if you took the Eldritch Knight, the Booming Blade, or if you're a High Elf, you get Booming Blade as well. This also procs off of things like Divine Smite. It's just easier to go with the Helmet of Arcane Acuity in most instances here, so that's a good choice. However, we could also add in, from Act 1, the Haste Helmet for increased movement speed, and this is really bursty at the first. It kind of depletes itself, but gives you a lot of movement really early on. Mask of Soul Perception can be an okay choice when you're in the late game. Seal Watcher Helmet if you want to be able to see in darkness, like if you have a team that's set up around it. Obviously, Helmet Baldur is great as well, but another one is the Birthright. Give ourselves a +2 to our Charisma. That's really good, but Helmet of Arcane Acuity is my choice. Now, if you're a Dirge, the Deathstalker Mantle is the best choice. Stealth and Invisibility is great on a Rogue, even better on a Paladin. We don't really need the ability to get advantage from it, but it's nice to have as well. Cloak of Protection for the +1 armor class works great though too. Now we get the Armor of Agility here for the stealth and the +2 to saving throws. Since we didn't go further with the Paladin, any little bit counts, and this will allow us to still be stealthy. You could also use the Ballast Armor if you're going a little bit evil. This is a late game item for piercing, but it's crazy powerful. In the early game, you're going to want to use things like the adamantine scale mail or the heavy armor version of that just to reduce the damage you'll be taking most times and also stopping crits from hitting you. And the Dwarven Splint Mail is great too for the bonus to Constitution, but you can't stealth with this, so that's why I like the Armor of Agility. The Wondrous Gloves, Act 1, gives you 1 more Bardic Inspiration. That's great. We now have 4 per long rest. That's actually a really nice choice. It also gives you a +1 to Armor class. These are pretty great. I did mention the Gloves of the Battle Mage's Power is a good choice too, but you can also add on the Luminous Gloves for radiating orbs off of that. Heldus Gloves late game is another choice. And even the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies is great for debuffing and applying reverberation, but we're going to roll with the Wondrous. And for boots, we got Disintegrating Nightwalkers. This gives us another free Misty Step, which is nice because we have the bonus actions, but we don't always have the spell economy. We sometimes want to save those level 2 spell slots. This frees that up. You could also throw in the Evasive Shoes for more armor class, or the Boots of Stormy Clamor to apply reverberation on the target. And for the amulets, I have the Amulet of Greater Health here, but there's even ones that'll give you spell slots back, like a level 2 spell slot. That's great for more smites, as we're smite and spell slot hungry. Also, if you're going with the Surgeon Subjugation Amulet, if you get a critical hit, you can stun and paralyze the target, which is great as well. I think that's a good choice. And even you could go with the Broodmother's Revenge from Act 1 for the poison on heal. Now, we also have the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel because this lets us use things like our command and hold person as bonus actions. And when we got a lot of bonus actions, this becomes pretty crazy. This also lets you use Vicious Mockery as a bonus action. So if you can't touch someone with a melee attack, you can use that for a bonus action. Pretty good stuff. I also have the Caustic Bands for additional 2 cold or acid damage. And this is just nice because we can use Slashing Flourishes. And that's just 2 more points of damage that we add on to our attacks. Although if you have the Callous Glow Ring and the Coruscation Ring, these can be good too for additional 2 radiant damage, which again can proc some gear if you wanted to use like the Luminous Armor. And another thing I want to mention is if you took a High Elf or if you went with the Eldritch Knight, you can use this to give yourself Arcanist Synergy when you use your Booming Blade, which gives you a Charisma modifier on top of all their damage. That'll be the highest damage, but the Caustic Band is just a good catch-all. And for bows, I have the Hellrider Longbow for the +3 to our initiative. This helps make up for not taking the alert feat. However, you could go with the hand crossbows, as these are also great for giving you bonus action attacks. But as mentioned, we got Vicious Mockery, which is arguably a little bit better. Or just going up and using an offhand attack. Now, I also want to mention another thing that we can kind of cheese ourselves with. It's one of the best items in the game, so I have to mention it if we really want to min-max and go crazy with this. The Shadow Blade Ring. You gotta save Arabella's parents. And this is a crazy weapon because it does a 2d8 of psychic damage. And even crazier, this gives us the Shadow Blade ability, which, yeah, you get advantage on attack rolls against lately or heavily obscure targets. So, yeah. We can then put something like the Cold Snap in the offhand. If you have another sorcerer or something that casts cold spells, this, whenever an attacker misses you, you can chill them and they get a double damage on their cold spells. With Cone of Cold doing a potential 128 damage, that becomes nuts. But I also like the Stillmaker is a great choice. And even things like the Crimson Mischief or Orange Dagger. Orange Dagger in the main hand can give enemies vulnerability to piercing, and in the offhand it gives you a True Strike Riposte, which is really good. I also want to mention something that gives us a bonus action with Belm. Because with Belm, you get an extra perfectly balanced strike doing our 2d8 of psychic damage. Actually pretty nuts. And that's per turn, so you can do like a dash and that extra attack. So yeah, we can do our Slashing Flourish twice, then smite 4 people, and then do a bonus action attack, and then an offhand attack for 6 total smites. And they'll all be done with advantage. And after you bring in your Shadow Blade, you can actually unequip the ring and keep it, so yeah. And I also have a video on my channel how to make a permanent Shadow Blade if you want to do that, to make it a little easier. And again, before you get into a fight, if you know you're getting into a fight, put Vow of Enmity on yourself, and boom, now you are going to get attacks with advantage. Alright, so we've rolled the highest initiative, our armor class is 26, so we're pretty hard to hit. The first thing we want to do is, yeah, we got sneak attacks against anybody with advantage. It's nuts. So find the target that you just want gone and delete them right away. If you have the Resonance Stone, this makes it so that you're, whenever you attack, you get 48 damage potential. It gets crazy because the Resonance Stone in Act 2 doubles the damage of Shadow Blade. So yeah, you become a one-shot machine. So that's one attack. Now, if you get really lucky and have enemies beside each other, you can do a Slashing Flourish on 2 enemies, or what we can also do is use the Slashing Flourish range and attack 2 targets at once. Again, both with advantage. This is great for picking off low health enemies, and you can go ahead, even if you have the Titan String Bow with the Strength Potion, it's going to be the best way to do it. And boom, that took out one target there and crit the other. It applied Fairy Fire, which can give our other teammates advantage on their attacks, but we only used one of our actions so far. It's kind of crazy. And I'd always recommend trying to use Perfectly Balanced Strike or one of your bonus action attacks per turn. This is crazy because it's just your main hand damage. Yeah, 30, pretty nuts stuff right there. We also want to use our slashing flourish at close range if at all possible, and make sure that whenever you go into your reactions tab here, that you do have your divine smites on your sneak attacks there. And you can also just turn on sneak attack reactions as well. So you just go in and attack and basically do all your damage all at once, and you don't even have to worry about setting anything or clicking anything. It'll just do it. So I'll just do a normal attack on this target here. Yeah, it was enough to one-shot them. I probably should turn off the dual wielding because I just ate up my bonus action that I wanted to save for something like command. Yeah, don't forget to turn off the dual wielding with R, because otherwise you do that and then you lose out on all the spells you can see here we could have cast. So like things like Hold Person for free crits on our next turn, Command, which just makes them move towards us and skip their turns, and Vicious Mockery for some rage damage, or even Dissonant Whispers. Sometimes you can get really unlucky like this when you're trying to do a slashing flourish to hit both targets. But if you want to spend it, you can actually use Defensive Flourish to boost your armor class by 4, which in our case takes our armor class up to 30. And you get the reaction for sneak attacks. Now, I'm not going to react with that one because we don't need it here. This is the target that I want. I want to turn off the bonus actions there so that doesn't happen again. And we'll go with our just attack there. That wasn't enough to take them out. They still have 34 health. This is the great thing about sneak attacks. We have advantage, so we can choose, do we want to use this? We do. 20 extra damage again. It's using psychic damage because that's the blade that we have. Wasn't enough to pick them off, but I guess that's fine because we can then use Vicious Mockery. Kind of funny, but we're just going to use the bonus action there instead of doing a normal attack, and we'll save our action for a little bit further on. Yeah, I guess that was probably one where we wanted to do our bonus action attack, but that's fine. We'll then use a perfectly balanced strike on this target here, which may be enough. No, it wasn't enough to take them out. That's okay. We got our armor class bonus, so we can actually use like a mobile flourish if we wanted to, which would give us a bit more movement. We can teleport around if we wanted to, and this can also push the enemy, which is nice. I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to use a normal attack here, and this will likely, if it doesn't miss, take them out. Yeah, it didn't work well. I unfortunately got hit by every CC known to man, and that didn't go well. We lost our bonus, our extra action from haste, but slashing flourish here. We finally got 2 targets right in the zone to both get taken, or just one to get taken out there. And the thing is, since we didn't take out one of them, we do get the sneak attack on the second. I'm not going to react there. Because, yeah, I took out both of them there, so we didn't need to react. You can always just mouse over to see if they're there. And then we still got our 2 bonus actions. I'm going to use a perfectly balanced strike on this one here. And it didn't kill, but again, the beautiful thing about our perfectly balanced strike, it can sneak attack too. So there you go. For some reason, the smites aren't working properly. I do have some issues with mods, so I do have to select it manually there. Normally, that's not the case. It's going to apply your smites as a just a reaction in the tab here. And yeah, you just got to make sure they're all selected on there. And boom, we'll finish this guy off there. I got our smites there. You're supposed to click the left-hand side. I clicked the wrong one. There we go. And we'll just finish him off with just a regular old attack there because you can add on a lot of extra damage if you need it. But yeah, you can go around one-shotting pretty much everything in the game with this setup because sneak attacks, divine smites, savage attack, or rerolling them, and being able to smite 2 targets at once is just absurd with the bonus actions. There's a lot of great stuff combined here together. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button if this was useful, and I hope you guys all have a great day.